Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. We have an update on the whole Angus Robertson thing with regards to the Israeli deputy ambassador. I said this story would run, and I'm right. I said yesterday how there were calls for John Swinney to stand down if he wasn't prepared to fire Angus Robertson, because it all came out that John Swinney knew about it and had instructed him. The people within the party had actually said that, he told him to do, he knew it and asked him to do it. Well, in order to take a bullet for the team, as it were, and to protect his lord and master, Angus Robertson has had to issue a statement which I frankly don't believe a word of it. Well, I do. I believe some of it, but I don't believe some of it as well. But I want to go through this statement because it is absolutely obvious. You'd have to be, living on the moon not to see what's going on here. This is a man who's probably had a whole team around him of spin doctors and spads, all trying desperately to put into words some kind of message that shows that John Swinney is completely innocent, has his hands off. I didn't know about the death camps, because this is exactly, I was only obeying orders. This is what it is. So he's had this criticism. This is Robertson. He's had this criticism. People saying, "Oh, he shouldn't do it," and they've called for him to go, and he hasn't gone. And then people said to Swinney, "Fire him. You've got to fire him," and he hasn't. And then people said, "Hang on a minute, no. Swinney knew. Swinney told him. Swinney's got to go." So what's going to happen? One of them's got to go, haven't they? Unless, and this is it. So Robertson, he's had all this criticism, I say. So he's written this open letter to explain the situation and try and put a gloss on it so he and Swinney can keep their jobs. And it is a desperate attempt. In his statement, so Robertson is basically sort of contradicting the reports that he'd been asked to go and attend this meeting by John Swinney, and he's now blaming the Jews. What do you expect? Can't blame Westminster for this one. Who else can you blame? It's the Jews, because they hate Jews. So let's blame the Jews. Honestly, get a little yellow star. That's what's coming next in Scotland. The way it's going, blame the Jews. Anyway, he's apologised for meeting this deputy ambassador, and discussing these things that they discussed. Oh no, I shouldn't have done it. Oh, it was terrible. All bad news. Blah blah blah. It won't be happening again. I promise I won't do it again. He's saying it's. I think the words here. I've got the words here. He says, "It would not be appropriate to accept any further invitations." Yeah. When you see this, he is Jew blaming. This is what this is. He can't be Swinney blaming. He daren't Swinney blame. He can't say, "I was obeying orders. My boss told me to do it." Because if he did that, Swinney's done within the party, and he knows that. So what he needs to do is basically take one for the team and hope to God Swinney doesn't fire him, and then make it out as though, well, it was perfectly normal, blah, blah, blah. And no, it was nothing to do with John Swinney. It was the Jews. Watch or listen. Anyway, can't watch. I'm reading it. Listen. Anyway, his letter said, 2 weeks ago, I met the new Israeli UK deputy ambassador at their request. What's he meeting the UK ambassador for? He's not the UK. The UK, the Foreign Office or the Home Office needs to meet the UK ambassador, not some unimportant councillor from a regional government, Anyway, he said, we anticipated the deputy ambassador would raise concerns about anti-Semitism, as well as other issues. Well, you are in Scotland, and it is the SNP, so yeah, anti-Semitism, loads of that, isn't there? He said it was rightly for me to decide whether to take the meeting. He didn't decide this, did he? However, as is normal practice, the First Minister was made aware before the meeting happened. So he's admitting that bit, at least, that Swinney knew, and Swinney didn't stop him. This is what he's saying. Swinney knew, but Swinney didn't tell me. It was the Jews. He says, my view was that given the Israeli UK Deputy Ambassador had requested a meeting, you're right, Why would the deputy ambassador for Israel want to talk to Angus Robertson? No way. It's bullshit. Anyway, unless he publishes the Israeli deputy ambassador's request, you can't believe this. And I bet they don't. I bet they go, oh, well, it's diplomatic secret. Oh, can't do it. State secrets. Fuck off. Right. Anyway, they'd requested a meeting. He said it was an opportunity to express the Scottish Government's clear and unwavering position on the need for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Because we like Gazans and Palestinians and we don't like the idea of those Israeli bastards killing them. Right? His views, not mine. He says, and I did exactly that, he said. No one intended that this meeting be presented as legitimising. Sorry, that's not what he said. Hang on, let me read what he's actually said and put in this letter. No one intended that this meeting be presented as legitimatising the actions of the Israeli government in Gaza. Legitimatising. Has that man actually ever had an education? I mean, for sake, you're dealing with morons. Anyway, the Scottish Government has been consistent. Surely have been. It is pluralistic. Anyway, the Scottish Government has been consistent in our unequivocal condemnation of the atrocities we have witnessed in Gaza. You haven't witnessed them. The reality, however, is that this meeting has taken by many to represent a normalisation of relations between Israel and Scottish governments. The Israeli government does not have any relationship with the Scottish government because the Scottish government is only called that by the people in Holyrood. It is not a government. It is an organisation. It is a regional council. As such, it is clear that it would have been better to ensure that the meeting was strictly limited to the need for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and an end to the appalling loss of life in the region. I apologise for the fact that this did not happen. Because that's not what they discussed. They did not discuss that. That is clear. They've already published what they discussed. And it was all about trade and dealings here and international relations. And it was all about we want to stop the armaments and this, that, and the other. They don't. The amount of bullshit coming out of this man is immense. We've already had the missive from him himself saying what the subject of the meeting was. Anyway, he said it would not be appropriate to accept any invitation for a further meeting. You didn't get an invitation for this one, and you're certainly not going to get an invitation for any more, so you don't have to worry about that. He said this will remain our position until such time as real progress has been made towards peace, unimpeded access to humanitarian assistance is provided, and Israel cooperates fully with the international obligations on the investigation of genocide and war crimes. Oh, good, we're going to be investigating Gaza then for the genocide of the Jews when they go in and kill all the babies. Is that going to be investigated, is it? Don't think so. The Scottish Government does not support any normalisation of its relations with the Israeli government during this period, says the man who is now blaming the Jews for calling a meeting which they undoubtedly did not because he hasn't published the document asking for the meeting. The Scottish Government will never hold back in expressing support for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the release of all hostages, and an end to UK arms being sent to Israel, and the recognition of a sovereign Palestine state within a two-state solution. Why should the UK stop selling Israel arms? Sell everyone arms, make a profit. Why should we make British workers suffer because he doesn't like Jews? Weird, isn't it? But that's the SNP through and through. Let's blame the Jew. Let's not blame John Swinney. No, it wasn't John Swinney who sent me. No. I tell you what, Angus Robertson, you publish that invite from the Deputy Ambassador to Israel and we'll believe you. But if that isn't published, then we know the truth. John Swinney sent you. John Swinney is the one that's caused all this. And you were only obeying orders. Jawohl. Thanks a lot. Bye.